Hi, I'm Rory from XR today, bringing you the latest in news and conversation from the extended reality space. Today I'm joined by Rama Oruganti, the Chief Product Officer of RealWear. Thanks very much for joining me once again.
Thank you, Rory. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So we're here to talk about the Navigator 520. Could you introduce the device as well as some of the improvements it has upon previous versions?
Sure. So here's the Navigator 520, if you can see it. Um, the main thing to remember about Navigator 520 is the horseshoe here. It stays the same as Navigator 500. The difference between Navigator 500 and 520 is the display. This display here is what we call the Hyperdisplay, and I'll get into that in a second. But the nice thing with our overall platform is if you bought a Navigator 500, you can upgrade to get to a Navigator 520 by just sending it back to a repair center and paying the price delta. Navigator 520 is 2700 MSRP. Navigator 500 is 2300 MSRP. So there's a $400 delta. And if you pay that difference, you can actually upgrade your 500 to a 520. The reason why we did it this way and we made it into a modular platform when we started the Navigator 500 series was because of this reason. Our customers don't want to be upgrading every year. These are industrial customers. The shelf life of a product is 3 to 4 years, but cameras change all the time, displays change all the time. They're moving really fast. So we wanted to have the best of both worlds, which is keep the same platform, but keep upgrading things as and when you need them. And that's the reason why we have a Nav 520 now. So it's not throw away your 500 and get a 520 necessarily. It's if you're happy with 500, stay there. If you're happy with 500 but you want a better display, you can upgrade. If you're buying a new device, buy a 520. That's kind of our thinking. 500 still continues to be sold in parallel with 520. Now I'll get into the real difference between the two, which is the display. So three things to remember here. The display is bigger, it's sharper, and it's bolder. And then it has a better viewability as well. So four things, I guess. So on the bigger side, when you look into this pod, it's the almost the same size, actually almost exactly the same size as the 500. So physically, it's not any bigger. But when you look in through the glass here, it's very hard to kind of demo it here. But when you look through here, this glass is also almost the same size as the previous one, as the 500 display. But the Hyper display, when you look in, looks like a 10-inch tablet at arm's length. The 500 display looks like a 7-inch tablet at arm's length. So when you look in, you actually see a bigger display in front of you. Now it's also sharper, which means we actually increased the resolution from 480 to 720p. So it has many more pixels, it's much sharper, and when you look at it, you can see the text, the icons, the logos are all much sharper because of the display resolution. The third thing is bolder, which is the color reproduction of this new display is much better than the previous one, which means there's always a continuum. That one was very good. This one is very, very, very good. When you look especially at very fine colors like fluorescent kind of colors where because it's an optical type of display, you will have a certain gradation over it. This one has much better color reproduction compared to the 500. It's hard to describe, as I said, describe how good it looks. It's like describing a TV in words, but you have to see it to believe it. That's one of our taglines, by the way, seeing is believing. So
Yes.
I would urge you and your readers to actually go and see it in person. Now, those are the three big things. Now, the other things we added here is what's called an eye box. So when you wear the device and you put it under your field of view, and when you look here, in the 500, the eye box was a little bit narrower, meaning that you had to get it to a precise position, and then it would stay there, and you could see the display whenever you look down. But with the new eye box, which means it's more forgiving, you have a bigger box within which you can see all four corners. So you can move this around and leave it here as well and still see all four corners. So we did that. The other thing we did is what's called eye relief, meaning how far you can have this display and still see. So this distance, not this distance, but this distance, how far it can be from your eye. We increased that as well. Now the advantage with that is if you're wearing PPE or really bulky helmets in front of your eye, you can still keep it far away from your eye without having to bring it too close and still see all four corners clearly. So overall, if you think about it, everything got better. It's a bigger display, it's sharper, it has better color reproduction, and you can place it much more conveniently and still see all four corners. So we are really excited about this display, and we, we believe that it'll have very high adoption among our customers.
Definitely, it sounds like I was just going to say. It sounds like flexibility is one of the key points there, allowing a adopter to move their display how they wish, or to best suit whatever task they are currently working on. So I want to explore a little bit more the benefits of the 520 device, and how does the device and its innovations benefit frontline workers? And then I'm also interested about how the device promotes remote communications between dispersed workers, with the integration of third-party tools, for example, like Teams and Zoom.
Sure. Sure. The story between for remote collaboration is very similar between the 500 and the 520 because the base device is the same. So the way to think about this is now you are a remote worker either in automotive, in manufacturing, oil and gas, healthcare, any of those, or logistics, any of those industries, and you have a break fix kind of situation, or you have an audit situation where you want to communicate back to somebody else who's far away. All you have to do is wear this headset on your head, call up any of our many remote collaboration partners like TeamViewer, Teams, Zoom, a whole host of others, right? We have almost 200 software partners who are built onto this. Not all of them are video collaboration, obviously. Many of them are workflow as well.
Yeah.
But I named all the big ones here. So you would use them. They have customized apps for our headset that work really well with a voice first kind of interface. You call up, you open up Teams, you call up the person, and you are straight online. The nice thing with this is it's completely hands-free. It's completely independent device. So this whole thing is self-contained. There is no other device needed. It can talk directly to Wi-Fi. We also have LTE dongle, so communication is also all completely self-contained. Unlike many other devices out there with wires and other things sticking out, this is completely simple, one piece, solid piece, 2 meter drop test, highly ruggedized for industrial environments. So the intent with this is all you need. You put it on your head, and then you're completely independent. You have a problem, you call somebody up. They can see what you are able to see. Many of our software partners are able to do things like annotations, LAM tracking, and so on. So you get all the features that you typically would not get on a phone or on a tablet while being completely hands-free and being safe, right? Your eyes forward in these situations. So that's the video collaboration piece. Now, what has happened over the past year is more apps have gotten optimized on our platform. We have also added more accessories onto this. So, and I can get into that if you want. But on the video collaboration side, very compelling use cases in mission critical areas. So recently, for example, Zoom mentioned that 1 hour of downtime in some of their customers is $1.3 million. So you can imagine the return on investment even from one incident in a year.
Yeah. So could we? Sorry, I don't mean to pivot slightly from the line of questioning, but I also wanted to ask how does RealWear Cloud and that side of the enterprise or that side of your service fit into Navigator 520? How would those two elements exist together?
Sure. RealWear Cloud exists as a way to manage your devices out there, manage the applications that go on your devices to help you deploy the devices. And it sits alongside MDMs. If you use an MDM, it works really well with them. It also gives you metrics and analytics on utilization. So how many hours was the device used? What apps were used often? Does it have the right firmware, and manage the firmware on the device so you can easily manage a fleet. Many of our customers are large multinational companies, and the devices end up going across the globe. But the person who's managing the devices is usually in one place. So how does this person manage the device remotely? that's really the problem we're trying to solve, because proof of concepts are easy enough because they're usually in one place. There's a person who can look after the devices or set them up for the right utilization by the frontline worker. But once you do real deployments, which we have many of, the problem became, how do I manage them? How do I get the analytics I want? How do I manage the firmware on it? How do I control different features on the device? How do I get low-level access to the device remotely? And that's where the cloud came in. Now, the other thing with the cloud is you can also, if you run into problem with this, you can dial into the device remotely with if you're part of the RealWear Cloud Pro, and uh, access the features of the device as if it was physically connected to you on a laptop, like in a debug admin mode. So if you are, for example, one of the real world use cases, one of our customers had this device in Nigeria, and they accidentally changed the language to Tagalog, and they, because they don't speak it, they couldn't get it back, all right? And the people there didn't know how to connect it to do the debug. But now you can do it remotely. Remotely, the IT admin is able to log into the device and then change the language. So things like that, where somebody might get stuck or doesn't know how to fix a technical problem with the device, can also be done with the cloud, in addition to all the other things I mentioned. So just to repeat myself here, managing applications on the device, managing a fleet, helping get it deployed quickly, getting settings onto the device more easily, then seeing metrics and analytics uh, around utilization of the device and which applications are being used. And best practices between different locations can be shared. So what some of our customers look at, I deployed it in 6 different factories. Factory A is using it really well. What are they doing? Why is it more effective there? So things like that is really important to see ROI and also improve ROI for the IT admins and for the business line managers.
Fantastic, cool. So just to wrap this up, because obviously from a technology standpoint, and then also from, I imagine your partners and clients, excuse me, and end users, the 520 device very much reflects on a successful 2022. So from some of the technology integrations, such as say thermal imaging and some of your other technology successes in the past, how does the Navigator 520 reflect on technology and use case success points in 2022?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Rory. So if you think about 500 and 520, I talked about the delta, which is the display here, but that's just one thing, the hard technical difference. But a lot of things have changed over the last year. So if you think of RealWear not as a piece of hardware or just a cloud thing, but think of it as a whole stack. If you start from hardware, yes, we improved the display, but we also have a bunch of other things we improved in the hardware ecosystem. So we have a thermal camera right here in collaboration with FLIR, world's leading thermal camera maker. This thing then allows you to do a lot of new use cases. It works with remote collaboration applications, works with workflow integrated into the device, the only wearable with a thermal camera integrated into it, right? So that's a big improvement, which you can get with 520. All you have to do is buy the thermal camera module and click it in. And over the past year, we have other ways of wearing the device. This is one way. We have an overhead strap as well, so that is more useful when you're bending down and doing things where your head is not always in the vertical position. So very useful, very comfortable for wearing all day. So wearability things, we've added a few more there, better clips. Then we created a new battery charger, which is a 4 battery charger, which is very useful in some of the high utilization industries like logistics. We also have a new in-ear headphone, which gives you great noise cancellation, even if you are wearing big mufflers, and you can still speak and be heard. So a lot of hardware things, and I can keep going on the hardware side. But that's just one thing. Then we have software improvements on our core platform. We also added a software called Hands-Free for Zoom, which is built on top of Zoom, making it easier to get onto a Zoom experience. Then on top of that, we have the cloud. Lots of features added in the past year. Metrics analytics improved substantially, and we've added more time, more features. All those things got added to the cloud. So now if you look at, if you bought a 500 last year with the ecosystem then, and if you buy a 520 now with the ecosystem now, you will get all the benefits of everything we've done in 2022. So to use this kind of device, it's not just deltas in hardware, it's also the overall experience and everything that goes around it, from hardware, software, accessories, and cloud. Everything got better.
That's
We are very
fantastic.
excited about it, as you can see.
No, I can see you're very excited about it as well. It is a great way to round up a successful 2022, and then I assume it's all going to roll over into a successful 2023. I imagine there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline from your
Yeah,
partners, from your technology. I imagine there's a lot to look
yeah,
a lot to look forward to. Excuse me.
definitely, Rory. It's going to be, it was a great 2022, and we're looking forward to an even better 2023. A lot of things in the pipeline, and we can't wait to get it in front of our customers.
Well, for the customers who are interested, what's the best way for them to reach out and keep up to date with everything?
Yep, they can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Rama, R-A-M-A, Oruganti, O-R-U-G-N-T-I, of course, realwear.com, RealWear.com, and Twitter as well. The many ways, just look us up, Google us, and you'll find us. We are at the top. World's best industrial XR.
Fantastic stuff, mate. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you, Rory. Cheers.
Brilliant. That's it from myself. Get more XR news by subscribing to our XR Today news channel and by following our social pages. Thank you very much for watching.